The rope slipped from her trembling hands just as the man below disappeared into the darkness of the abandoned well. For one terrifying second, the poor village girl thought she had failed. Then she heard a weak cry rising from the depths, and without thinking about her own safety, she wrapped the rope around her waist and climbed down after him. She had no idea that the injured stranger she was risking her life to save was the most important man in the kingdom, and that rescuing him would change her life forever. Before we continue, if you believe that kindness can change a person's destiny and that everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more emotional stories like this to you. Her name was Elara, a 19-year-old girl who lived with her sick mother in a tiny village hidden beyond the royal forests. They owned almost nothing. Their small wooden house leaked whenever it rained, their garden produced barely enough food to survive, and Elara often worked from sunrise until sunset carrying water, gathering firewood, and helping farmers in exchange for a few coins or a piece of bread. Yet despite her poverty, there was one thing her mother had taught her never to lose: compassion. She had always told Elara that a person's worth was never measured by the clothes they wore, the money they possessed, or the house they lived in, but by what they did when nobody was watching. One autumn afternoon, while returning from the forest, Elara heard the frantic sound of horses somewhere beyond the trees. She stopped and listened. Then came a crash, followed by silence. Curious and worried, she followed the sound until she reached an old stone road that had not been used in years. There she found a broken carriage overturned near a deep abandoned well. One horse lay injured beside it, and scattered around the road were pieces of expensive black fabric and shattered wooden panels. Elara immediately knew something terrible had happened. She rushed toward the well and heard someone breathing below. Looking over the edge, she saw a young man lying at the bottom. His clothes were torn, blood covered one side of his face, and one arm was trapped beneath a fallen beam. Elara could have run for help, but the nearest village was nearly an hour away. The man might not survive that long. So she tied a thick rope around a tree, lowered herself into the darkness, and fought with all her strength to free him. Every movement made the injured stranger cry out in pain, but Elara refused to stop. After nearly an hour, she managed to pull him toward the rope. She climbed first and then struggled to drag him upward. Her hands became raw, her knees were covered in dirt, and several times she nearly fell into the well herself. Finally, with one desperate effort, she pulled the stranger over the edge. He collapsed onto the ground, barely conscious. Elara tore a piece of her own dress to bandage his wound and carried him toward her home, unaware that armed royal guards were already searching the forest for him. That night, Elara's mother recognized the royal crest embroidered inside the stranger's torn coat. Her face went pale. The injured man was Prince Adrian, the only son of the king. Earlier that day, assassins had attacked his traveling party, killing several guards and forcing the prince into the forest. Elara suddenly realized that she had not rescued an ordinary traveler. She had rescued the future king. Before dawn, the sound of horses filled the village. Dozens of royal soldiers surrounded Elara's tiny home. Their commander entered and immediately knelt beside the unconscious prince. When Adrian finally opened his eyes, the first person he saw was Elara sitting beside the fire, exhausted and covered in dirt. He remembered her face from the darkness of the well. The soldiers wanted to take Elara and her mother to the palace as witnesses, but the village elders warned that the royal court might blame them for what had happened. Elara expected punishment, suspicion, or perhaps nothing at all. Instead, Adrian insisted that the girl who saved his life must be brought safely to the capital. For the first time in her life, Elara entered the royal palace. Everything seemed impossible: marble floors, enormous chandeliers, servants dressed in silk, and gardens larger than her entire village. But not everyone welcomed her. Several nobles laughed behind her back and called her a dirty peasant who had become important only because the prince had been foolish enough to fall into a well. One powerful noblewoman even accused Elara of planning the entire incident to gain access to the royal family. Elara wanted to return home. She felt humiliated and frightened, but Prince Adrian defended her publicly. He told the court that when everyone else was searching for him, a poor girl with nothing had risked everything without asking for a reward. Her courage, he said, was worth more than the jewels covering the palace walls. But the real shock came days later. While recovering, Adrian learned that the attack against him had not been random. Someone inside the palace had secretly arranged it. The assassin's trail led to a royal official who had been stealing money from the kingdom for years. During the investigation, a hidden letter was discovered proving that the official had planned to kill Adrian and blame the attack on villagers near the forest. The official was arrested, and the kingdom learned the truth. But there was another discovery that shocked everyone even more. The royal physician revealed that Adrian's wound had become dangerously infected. Had Elara arrived even a few hours later, the prince would almost certainly have died. The king summoned Elara before the entire royal court. Everyone expected him to reward her with gold. Instead, he asked her what she wanted. Elara looked at the magnificent palace around her and thought about her mother, her leaking roof, and the hungry children in her village. She could have asked for jewels, land, or a life of luxury. But she asked for something completely different. She asked the king to repair the village well, build a small medical clinic, and provide food for families who had nothing during winter. The entire court fell silent. The king was so moved that he granted every request. He also offered Elara a position at the palace, but she refused to forget where she came from. She returned to her village whenever she could and used her new influence to help people who had once been ignored by the kingdom. Years later, when Prince Adrian became king, one of his first royal decrees changed the law so that brave and capable people from humble families could serve in important positions regardless of their birth. When someone asked him why he had made such a decision, he simply remembered the frightened village girl standing beside that ancient well. Elara never became powerful because she was chosen by destiny. She became powerful because, when destiny gave her a choice between fear and kindness, she chose kindness. And perhaps that was the greatest lesson the kingdom ever learned. Sometimes the person who saves a kingdom is not wearing a crown. Sometimes they are wearing old clothes, carrying an empty purse, and simply refusing to walk away when someone else is suffering. Before the story ends, I want you to comment one word, kindness, if you believe one good act can completely change someone's life. And if Elara's story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes, the smallest act of courage becomes the beginning of a miracle. The End, Part 1, Complete Story.